Hey guys, Jeremy here at my way MFG. It's my first time back out in the garage after Christmas. Guess this is Thursday. Anyway, come over here today. I don't have a whole lot of welding left to do. I'd like to just go ahead and get that done. Get the fiberglass on all the new welds, and then next time over here, finish that off and probably be about ready for seam sealer. Anyway, I hope all you guys had a good Christmas. I know I did. Weather was great. Smoked a turkey outside. Never done that before, but it was like 60 degrees out. Raining a little bit. But I just opened the door and just put the smoker right inside the garage door. So that was good. And the turkey turned out great. Anyway, weather didn't hold off. We got some kind of cold and sleet going on out here today. Let's get started here. Try to remember where I left off. You know, my mind's been elsewhere. I'll show you what I'm going to do next. I remember I had this piece traced out for the other side, and it fit in there pretty good, at least good enough I can grind it and get it to fit the rest of the way. It did, however, need to be a little longer on top. I was rusted out a little further. I think I can trace it out of this piece. Just leave it extra long up here and then start cutting it and grinding it and fitting it. See if we can get that in there first thing. So I'm going to trace this out here and get a piece of metal cut first. That piece is kind of hard to hold up in there and get a real accurate reading on it. If you're unsure, just try to make it a little bigger than what you think you're going to need. You can always grind it back, you know. Get this cut out of here real quick. If you guys been watching me for a while, you've seen me oftentimes cut my patches too small. I don't know why that is. Optimism, maybe. You know, it's not that rusty. That'll be enough. Only to find out it's not. But I have a very hard time filming this area. See, I'm tall enough now, I'm getting that up there in the good metal. What's got to happen now, where these splits are overlapping, I've got to cut those and get them all welded together and take a hammer and kind of soften this crease so it's not so hard to cover up later. So I get all this where it needs to be, then we can start fitting this, but it is big enough that it's gonna go in there. We'll just underlap that into there and then get some tacks on the back side of it from inside the trunk. And like I say, I'm probably not going to be able to film any of this too well, but I'll show you guys the steps anyway. We're going to start just by recutting this and get it to butt up. Okay, I got those split, got them to flush up, or butt up. And I just welded them. I'm gonna take a flapper wheel now and grind those welds off so we can kind of see where we're at and see if we can get a little better shape to it. I've been kind of grinding and shaping on this. I'm probably going to call that good until I get the other piece welded in, and we'll do a little more grinding on it. So I'm going to start fitting that other piece right now. Our bottom edge is lining up pretty good. Yeah, let's see what happens here. I got one tack weld on there where it was fitting good. I'm just going to start pushing it in and fitting it and just tacking it until I get it all fitted into place. Up here where it's overlapping onto that good metal, I'm just going to do a lap weld there, smooth it off with some fiberglass. But down here I got to do a little work. I got a gap I think I can fill with weld pretty easy. Get back on here, see where we get. right, guys, I got that laid in there. That curve looks pretty good, not too bad. I did cut my patch tall enough. That's kind of a first. Anyway, that's in there. A little more grinding to do on it. And I've got it stitched into the back side there too. So that's all welded in good and tight. I think I'll finish getting the foot welded back on this brace now. All right, pretty well got that welded in place. Just got to grind it off. Next thing's going to be getting this round rod all the way down and getting it welded in place. And then I got just a little bit more welding I want to do back along that back edge, and then I think we're done with the welding on this back part of the car. At least on the floor, you know. So that's good, right? That last video I did, I didn't film a lot of the work I was doing. And I actually had a commenter, and he said, what is this, just show and tell? You're not showing how you do anything. I usually do. Just that last video, I really didn't. But it wasn't one of the regular guys. He was, I don't know, somebody that popped up. They do that from time to time and leave me a weird comment. But anyway, the fiberglass. I got about that much here on some cardboard. Squeeze a little hardener in there. Is there any left in there? Yeah, about that much. It's not a, you don't have to be real specific with it. Just mix this up until it kind of turns one color. You'll see streaks in it. After the streaks disappear, you know it's, you know, mixed pretty good. As long as you got hardener in there, it's going to set up. If you use too much hardener, it might set up so quick that you don't have enough time to apply it. So you don't want to get too much in there. But then if you don't get enough, it might take all day for it to dry too. So about what I did right there is probably about right for this amount. You know, of course, the lesser amount, the less, or the more hardener. And applying this down in these hard to reach places, honestly, the easiest way to do it's your finger. And I've tried to do it with rubber gloves on, but the gloves are too slick and it doesn't work out real well. You're better off just to do it with your finger and then wipe off your finger, you know. Down in here, I just want to go over all these welds. It waterproofs them, plus it hides them. And it'll prevent them from rusting back out. I don't think that would happen in here anyway, but it's still going to hide them, and it will make it stronger too. Here in a minute, I'll show you kind of what I mean with the strength on the fiberglass. I got a pretty good example right here. I can show you of how strong this stuff actually does get. I say it might not be real appealing to you to get this stuff all over your fingers, but down in cases like this, it's the easiest. I really just don't mind wiping my finger off, you know. Okay. I think that's about it in here. A little bit right here, maybe. Couldn't get my finger in there good, so now I've also got it on my thumb. That's all right. This area right here, I might be able to use a spreader, at least to get it started. Now remember, everything that's rough and ugly, you're going to have to grind back off of there. So get it as smooth as you can while you still got time to work with it. That takes me back to my finger. I get this smoothed out enough that after it sets, I won't have a whole lot of grinding to do. However, there will be some. I'm going to say that's probably pretty good. All right, that's probably pretty good. Get that off while it's still wet. You can get most of it. Fingers will feel a little sticky for a while, but all right. We got all those welds covered up right there. And then just a little bit up in there where that rust was. And then this corner, we've got it all shaped up pretty nice. I like to get it where you guys can kind of see the contour, but it all looks pretty good. So that's got to dry. I think we'll get up and get this round rod finished, you know. I was saying there a minute ago, I had a pretty good example of how strong that fiberglass gets. Here's some right here that just fell here. It probably dripped down off my spreader when I was doing some of this. And this wasn't applied, it just fell. I didn't push it down into place or anything. It won't come off. And you can imagine if that just fell there and is stuck that tight, how good is it where I actually tried, you know? But anyway, I'll take a grinder, get that off of there. It's pretty good stuff. I got that all welded in there. Those were probably the ugliest welds I've done since I started working on the car. I could not get positioned right to see and do that well. So in the end, I just watched it, made sure they were burning in good so that I knew it was going to be strong, and I just ground them off the best I could and fiberglassed it. All covered up anyway, nobody sees them, and I know it's strong. So anyway, that fiberglass is probably pretty well set up. A guy could probably work with it now, and that's done. Over here, I started grinding this off. It was set up. I put a little bit of matting and resin back in that spot, and also back in here where I ran a little short in my corner. I just fiberglassed that as well. What resin I had left in my cup, I just kind of went over this other fiberglass. Maybe I can sand it off and get some of the pits so I don't have quite as much Bondo work to do. I'm just going to put a thin skimmer Bondo over them pits with my finger and just kind of blend it all in, just so it's, you know, somewhat not level, but, you know, at least feathered out and smooth. But this stuff here typically takes several hours to get set up good. So this is Thursday. I think I'm going to get out of here for today. We got all the welding done except for I got a patch to do right here in this corner. Right back there, it was rusty. Otherwise, we're done. And this fiberglass here is all set up now. That can be finished off at some point. But I think we're going to just finish off these edges so we can get the seam sealer on. I'd like to have the seam sealer on here by the end of this video, you know. Anyway, this is Thursday. I might come back over here tomorrow if I get time. Sand that off a little bit, spread a little Bondo. Maybe Saturday morning, you know, I like to get the videos out on Saturday afternoon. Maybe Saturday morning we can come over here and get the seam sealer on it, and that'd be a good way to end this video, you know, because after that it's going to be getting the car undercoated from underneath and then getting the bed liner in the trunk and start working on that lip where the rubber seal goes, I guess. But anyway, it's all getting done, so it's looking good. I'm feeling pretty good about it. One thing about it, whether you like the way it looks or not, it's strong. It's not going anywhere. And, you know, if this car lasted for, I think it was parked in 1959, set outside all them years, now that it's cared for in heated garages all winter, gosh, how long would it last? You know, I would think rest of my life easily. Thought I'd make me a pot of coffee. And yes, I've still got this spooky guy standing here. And guys, back over here, got the rest of the Bondo just real thin layer on there, kind of blending in my fiberglass seams. I just pretty well got this sanded out. I'm going to shoot a little primer on all this, see if there's any more I want to do or if I'm just going to call it good. Chances are I'm going to call it good because I think the bed liner that I'm going to be applying is going to cover up whatever's left, you know. But I'm going to get this all wiped out good and shoot a coat of primer on here, and then we'll see what it looks like, and hopefully we're there with it. I see like 8 or 10 places I think I'm just going to hit with a little sandpaper that I'd like to get just a little bit better. I don't know if it matters too much. It's probably going to cover up, but I might as well get them while I can see them, you know. But I'll show you guys what's going on. All right, there's what the last coat of primer on. That area in there in between those body lines, I could sand that out and get that quite a bit better. Spot right there. All of this down in here, I'm going to say is probably pretty good. It's hard to tell right now because the primer's kind of wet. There's a little booger right here that needs to come off. This lip here I'm going to be doing later when we get ready to do that. This over here, right in there's a little bit. Right there, I think I can get a little better. Maybe right there. I'm just going to hit those few spots one more time. And then probably wipe it down with some Windex and head for the seam sealer next. I hope that tube of seam sealer is still good. I bought it last year. And you know, I don't know what the difference is, but like a tube of caulking, $6, $7, $8. That automotive seam sealer is like $50 a tube. And that's why I didn't want to open it and start with it until I was completely ready to use the whole tube. I don't want it sitting there getting hard on me. But I think I'm going to go home. My drill batteries are dead. I was going to try to get a hole drilled up in that, like a pilot hole from the bottom, and then finish it off from the top with a step bit. So I'm going to go home, charge up my batteries, get a cup of coffee. By the time I get back, this primer should be dry. We'll just hit these few spots and then go for that seam sealer, I believe. I've been going for about an hour. I came over here, my primer is still wet. I can't do anything with it yet. I took this spare tire mount out earlier. It ended up just having a pin through it and a cotter key, and then there was a spring that held it. That's not going to be going back in. I got rid of the wheel well where the spare tire used to go. There's a wood block there, and there was one there. I've got one of them off. I'll be getting that one off too, and then we'll just get that cleaned up and a little paint on it. I did go ahead and get the hole drilled through this, and I got a bolt through it to make sure it went clear through. So that bolt and that bolt will be ready to put back in. We'll just put the original rubber back under it. It was still pretty good shape. Only thing is, when I went to drill that hole, I started from underneath because I wanted to make a pilot hole. I picked the wrong hole and I ended up drilling a hole right here. So now I got to get the welder out and weld that shut and grind it off. But yeah, it is what it is, you know. I wish I'd been paying more attention, I guess. I need to lightly sand this primer with some 220 or 180 or something before I put the seam sealer on. And I think I'll put a tape line down there so it applies nicely. But I can't do that just yet because my my primer's still wet. So anyway, I might just end this video here and do the seam sealer in the next one, and maybe take a leaf blower and blow this garage out so I can get underneath and start doing POR 15. Maybe that's the next video, seam sealer and POR 15. Maybe we'll start working on this lip a little bit. It's pretty good up the sides, other than it just needs cleaned up. But along here at the bottom, I gotta do a bunch of fiberglass work, and then right up here in this corner, there's some bad stuff going on here. Yeah, this corner too. So anyway, we might get on that in the next video, at least start on it. But Yeah, this is Saturday. I didn't get back over here Friday. I was over here Thursday and then again Saturday. So I'd hoping this body work would be done and this primer would be ready to sand off and seam seal, but it's not going to be. So I think we'll end this video here. If any of you guys are running across this channel for the first time and you're watching this as like a body work tutorial, this isn't a good video to watch because I'm not actually getting this leveled off and finished off nicely. I'm just trying to get it good enough for like a rough texture, you know, roll-on truck bed liner. So I think this is good enough for that. If you're looking for a better video on doing the body work and stuff, I've got some pretty good videos from last winter. If you look down the Eliza playlist, when we're working on the dash and the A-pillars and the door jams and that, there's some pretty good body work videos going on there that'll, you know, put you on the right track. I think for a home do-it-yourself job, it's pretty good video or series of videos. But on this, basically, I've done all the same steps except for after it was welded up, you try to get all your pinholes welded up best you can, shine a flashlight through from the back side. Make sure you get all your pinholes welded up, at least the best you can. Grind them off flat, layer of fiberglass, grind that off flat, and then you've got to put enough Bondo on there that you got something to work with to where you can get everything level. And that's a step we skipped here. I just put on a real thin skim rub Bondo just to feather the edges out. So it's not level, it's wavy. But the other thing you got to watch for, this is done right other than not enough Bondo, really. But what you got to watch for is your adhesion. Say you've got it down to bare metal and you apply your fiberglass to the bare metal, then you grind the fiberglass off, and then you put your Bondo over the fiberglass. When you're doing your finished sanding on that and you're trying to get your edges to feather out, if you don't have good adhesion, when you get down real thin to where it should be feathering out, it might lift on you. And if it starts lifting on you when it gets real thin, then you don't have good adhesion. You might as well just start over. As long as everything is stuck down good, you will be able to feather the Bondo right into the fiberglass or the metal, and you'll be able to feather the fiberglass into the metal. Everything will feather out. And you're talking microscopically thin by the time you get that feathered out. So if it's going to lift, it will. So if you're not having any lifting problems, you're going to be fine. You're going to be good. And buy good Bondo. Fiberglass, I don't think it matters. It's all the same, as far as I can tell. And the resin and matte fiberglass is the same stuff as the Duraglass, you know, composition-wise. So you can use that stuff interchangeably, and one will go over the other and vice versa, and it'll work out fine. That's really what you got to look for, is good adhesion. As long as you got good adhesion and you use enough product to where you can get everything leveled out and covered, you should be fine. But like I say, there's some good videos of guide coat and how to make sure you got it looking good and all of that. And then use a thick blocking primer to kind of go over the stuff you don't get. But anyway, yeah, go back and watch those videos, not this one. But as far as trunk floor goes, I think we're in good shape. I think it's going to make a nice trunk floor. We're just about to the point, after the seam sealer's on, this would pretty well hold water. I think you could fill it with water and it would be fine. Whereas before, it really wouldn't have even held a lawn chair if the gas tank hadn't been in there. So that's a pretty big improvement. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to get out of here for today. And on the next video, I'm going to say this floor is done. Anyway, this is Jeremy. We'll catch you on the next one. Later, guys.